Welcome, everybody, to the Big Book Roundtable and the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with addictions, afflictions, alcoholism, whatever it may be, of all varieties. Grateful to be a resource here in the RICO 12 family to the loved ones of addicts, to anybody out there seeking a solution that they are just not finding. I'm Justin B., a child of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in miraculous recovery one day at a time. And I'm blessed to be here with David G. and Nikki M. And man, what an opportunity this is to do this. So before we get into our reading for today, I'd like to have David come off mute and introduce himself and say hi, and then we'll do that with Nikki.
Hey everybody, I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts. I live here in Oklahoma, the great state of Oklahoma. Really glad to be here with Justin and Nikki. This is always my favorite time of the week to be home. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Nikki, say hi to us.
Hi, everybody. And I feel the same way as David. This is really a bright spot in my week, and I look forward to it. And we're grateful. I'm grateful, and I know you are too, because I'm getting a lot of calls this week, you guys, that many people are very, very sick. And I want to just think about those I don't want to take a moment of silence, but just, to pray for those inside and outside of the rooms that are still suffering. And we're here at this table still seeking God. And I have to say, we're the lucky ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And I love one of the, one of our purposes in recovery is to pray for the man who is still sick. And that's what we're doing collectively here. That's what we're doing as we go through these steps. I think that's what the big book is a giant prayer for the man who is still sick. And we get to do that in this podcast, walk through it line by line. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to continue reading. Picking up on page 76, we're going to read just a couple of paragraphs and dive deep into this and share experience, strength, and hope. 76, starting at the paragraph that says, "Now we need more action," and we will end on middle of page 77 in the 4th edition of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, in the paragraph that ends with our talk of spiritual discovery. So I'm going to jump in, read these paragraphs, and then we will discuss them. Now we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. Probably there are still some misgivings. As we look over the list of business acquaintances and friends we have hurt, we may feel diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. Let us be reassured. To some people, we need not and probably should not emphasize the spiritual feature on our first approach. We might prejudice them. At the moment, we are trying to put our lives in order, but this is not an end in itself. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. It is seldom wise to approach an individual who still smarts from our injustice to him and denounce that we have gone religious. In the prize ring, this would be called leading with the chin. Why lay ourselves open to being branded fanatics or religious bores? We may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message, but our man is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrong. He is going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discoveries. So there's our reading for today. David, why don't you take just a minute and go through that and dive deep into it and help us see it from maybe a different light.
Yeah, absolutely, Justin. And thank you for your service as always. This is just such a powerful part of the book. This is really the meat and the potatoes of it. Because if you think about it, up to this point, it's been myself, my sponsor, and it's been God. Now, my sponsor is still going to guide me, but he's not going to be there as I begin to take this particular journey here. Now, he'll be there before and after, but not during. And so I had one time that I wanted to go, my sponsor to go with me. And he said, well, if you would have allowed me to went with you, when you committed the defect, the sin, whatever you want to call it, then I'd be happy to go with you. But since you didn't, no, you're gonna step out and take care of that. And by now, I've really come into a God consciousness. I've really begun to practice these principles in my affairs. And our book says now we need some more action. It's like, this is ever going to end, I love what you read, without which we find that faith without works is dead. And we've talked about this in the past. Faith without works is dead, but works without faith is really just self-propulsion. I'm just propelling self. I'm just doing all these works and thinking that God's approving, but I'm really doing it without much faith. And so, there's a difference in faith and belief. There's a difference in faith in what I want to do. I need to remember the chapter that we agnostics. Where is my faith really grounded? Is it more in the God of reason and self, or is it more along the lines of what this book is telling me to do? Now, it's going to really, it's given very specific instructions of how to look at me. And now it's time to step out and take action on that. So let's look at 8 and 9. This is a very important sentence to me. And this didn't come full circle to me until about a year and a half into recovery, 30 years ago. I was sitting in a meeting one day and I'd finished up a 4-step and I'd done a 5th step with my sponsor. And somebody in the meeting said, you need to burn that inventory. If that gets found out by somebody, then you're in big trouble. And I knew they were right, because there were some things there I really didn't want anyone to see. So I took it out and burned it. And, I came to my sponsor and he said, all right. He said, bring your inventory. Let's begin to look at your 8th step. And I said, well, I don't have that inventory anymore. And he said, what do you mean you don't have that inventory? And I said, well, I'll burn it. He said, why the hell would you do that? And I said, because I heard in the meeting that that's what you do after the 5th step, you get rid of the inventory. And he said, well, I see that you still lack understanding and reading in the book. So he brought me to this page and he says, let's take a look at steps 8 and 9. We've got that list of the people we've harmed and whom we're willing to make amends. Key words, we made it when we took inventory. So now you've burnt your 8th step list. So unless you know that from memory, you've just burnt. And oh man, it was just a terrible time. And so anyone out there that's listening, anyone that tells you to burn your inventory before this, don't listen to that, because our book says right the opposite. We have a list of the people whom we've harmed, whom we're willing to make amends. We made it when we took inventory, not after we burnt the inventory. We subjected ourselves to drastic self-appraisal. Remember, we did that in steps 4 and 5. Now we go out to our fellows, repair the damage that was done in the past. We're going to attempt, doesn't say we're going to do it, but we're going to make an attempt here to sweep away the debris that's accumulated out of our effort to live on. Key words right here, self-will with a small s, because that's what has caused all of this destruction. Now, I can blame it on my alcohol. I can blame it on drugs. I can blame it on lust and sex and love and all this. But it's been a long time since I've done any of that. Why is this stuff still coming up? Why am I still deceitful? Why am I still lying? Why am I still running, hiding, and doing all these things? So, but there's a prayer in every step of this book. And here's the one, step 8 prayer. Most people don't see this. If we haven't the will to do this, we ask. And anytime I see those 2 words in the Big Book, we ask. That's a prayer. We ask until it comes. Now, I've had to use this prayer on a lot of occasions because I haven't had willingness at times to do these amends. But I pray for the willingness to become willing. God, give me the willingness to become willing. That's all this is asking me to do. And really, for me, the amends, 2 things have to line up. One is willingness, and the other is opportunity. There's been times that I've been willing and the opportunity was not there. There's been time that the opportunity was there, but I didn't have the willingness. So these 2 must line up, opportunity and willingness. So we ask until that comes. If we have the will to do that, we ask until it comes. So remember, don't forget this. Remember, it was agreed in the beginning that we go to any lengths for victory over alcohol, lust, sex, drugs, whatever the case may be. Don't forget that. Now, you're going to get a chance to do this. So probably there's some misgivings. I will guarantee you there is over the list of business acquaintances and friends we have hurt. Notice how those words keep coming up. Hurt, hurt, hurt. We're going to look at about 3 different ways to do amends. But the biggest one we're going to look at is harms done, or the people we've hurt. So we may feel hesitant or diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. Well, be reassured that you don't need to do that and probably shouldn't do it on the first approach. Now, my experience with that is that there may be more than one approach. I didn't like that. There was a guy that I'd hurt severely, threatened to beat his ass if he ever showed up at a meeting again. I mean, I was crazy. And I tried to make amends to him, and he didn't want to hear it. He said, I'm tired of you saying you're sorry, and then you come back, bully me, and do what you do to me. And so I felt like, okay, he didn't accept my amends, so it's over. My sponsor said, no. You write him a letter and send it to his address, and you come at it a little more tactful. And so I did that. And he said, if that don't work, then you try it again. And I just did not want to do that. But there may be more than one approach that we have to make. In that particular case, there was. But the reason I do that is because I'm trying to put my life into it. I hope that it works out with him. But if it doesn't, my life still has to be put into order, because there may be a day when I can. But I love this. This is not the end in itself, our real purpose. And people ask me all the time, David, I don't know what my purpose is. Well, let's go to page 77 and take a look at what it is. It's to fit ourselves to be a maximum service to God and the people about us. Now, I used to run around saying all the time, my real purpose is to be of maximum service to God and my fellows. And my sponsor caught me outside that meeting one night, and he said, hey, that's not your real purpose. And I said, it says right there, our real purpose is to be a maximum. So he says, no. It says our real purpose is to fit ourselves. If I go to the gym, there's some things I'm going to have to do to get fit. There's some exercises, there's some different stuff. It's the same way here with the spiritual life. So a soldier fits himself to be of service. So whenever the task of whatever it is comes along, he's fit and ready to go for duty. Well, we better get ready here, I promise you, because we're fixing to walk into the jungle, just like a soldier here. I love what it says. It's seldom wise, so that means not ever for me, to approach an individual who still smarts from our injustice and announce that we've gone religious, I've worked the steps, and now God's on my side. And in a prize ring, it'd be called leading with the chin. You're going to get your ass knocked out if you try that. So I don't want to be a branded fanatic or a religious bore. And the reason why is because I'll end up killing an opportunity, a future opportunity to carry this message. But for me, here it is. Now, I used to run around and say all the time, nowhere in our book does it say that we tell somebody we're sorry and amends. I don't say that anymore, because in the next paragraph we'll read in the next time that we sit down here, it's absolutely getting ready to talk about making some apologies. But that's not an end in itself. I just don't need to go up and say I'm sorry. The man is going to be more impressed with a sincere keyword desire to set right the wrong, not only an apology. I can go apologize for stealing your money, but you're still going to want your damn money at the end of the day. So you're more interested in my desire to set right the wrong. He's going to be more interested in a demonstration. I love that word. I need to live this out in my life. I need to come pay your money back. I need to make amends to you. I need to tell you how sorry I am for the way I treated you and the way that I hurt your family and the things that I did. The people that I hurt through violence and the man's, a life that I took. It's awful. So they'll be more interested in my demonstration of that than my talk of, I've worked the steps and I'm so spiritual now. I'm 30 years sober now, Alcoholics Anonymous, and nobody gives a shit. How are you treating your wife? How are you treating a waitress down at the restaurant? How are you with your brothers and sisters in recovery? Are you trying to run the show? Are you trying to be the big shot? I mean, how are you at work? Do you want to run above everybody else to get that promotion, that raise, yeah. We're more interested in demonstration of goodwill than all that bullshit. So, Justin, thank you for calling on me. Good to be here.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you diving through that. Nikki, your turn. Jump in, walk us through those paragraphs.
I'm so grateful. I mean, David, I can never get rid of my big book because this is mine, David G's and Justin B's big book. I keep mucking it up with you guys more and more, and I just love this. So now, and wherever it says now in my big book, I write fast. That's what my sponsor told me, now, which means fast, don't wait. And then it says we need more action. And if you read the title page, it says into action. And we've talked about the sentences. I mean, I'm going to probably be a little parrot on what David says because our books are a lot the same because it's one book and one direction. Faith without works is dead. And, that comes out of the good book, James 2, verse 20. It's like faith without works is dead. And I also circle faith works. And we talked about that, I think, on a couple podcasts ago about what is faith. Well, it's courage. And so you have to have courage to make this work. And now it says, let's look at steps 8 and 9. Well, let's look at them. It says, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Keyword all, keyword willing. I mean, this is radical stuff. And I have a few sponsors. I mean, we're just commencing shoulder to shoulder. That's it. There's no sponsor word in the book, but he always says, Nikki, don't forget your harms by omission. There is harms by omission, ones that you don't know about. And step 9 says we make direct amends, which means to set things right to such people wherever possible. See, wherever possible. I don't see run out and go do that, except when to do so would injure them or others. And I love that line too. You're not going to run out if it's going to injure them, others, and I include myself because you are me and I am you. People have different opinions. If your sponsor says something different, listen to your sponsor. So we have a list of all the persons we have harmed and to whom willing. Willing is a key word to make amends. We made it when we took inventory. I get a lot of people and they're like, where's the list? It's like, you made it when we took inventory and we subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. Did you, sponsee? Yes, I did. I did a thorough step 4 and 5. Now, which is fast, I'm going to go to my fellows and repair the damage, all the damage in column 2, all the things that I've done and by omission in my past. And I'm there to sweep away my debris, sweep away the debris, not yours. I'm not even looking at yours. Remember, the inventory is ours, not the other man's. Because a lot of people, well, you did this, and no, we don't. There's exact instructions that we are going to read in this book. So pay attention. It's like a dance, you guys, where you learn shuffle ball change, and then you learn, leg kick, and then you put it all together. Musicians, you've got the bass, you've got the drum, and then it comes together in a symphony of beautiful sound and song. So this is the same thing with the book. Don't just follow one instruction. Make sure you're putting them all together, Karate Kid. Okay. And David said it, self-will. This is all about self. Someone today in the noodle chat said, I need a sponsor for this. It's self. You need a sponsor for self because today it's your overeating. Tomorrow it's your under-earning. Next day it's your sex addiction and love. Then it's just your snorting people. Al-Anon. Okay. And it says, if we haven't the will, we ask, and it's always ask God. It doesn't say call your sponsor. And remember, and you ask until it comes. If you haven't the will, you ask until it comes. This is not an overnight matter. It must continue for our lifetime. I mean, this is a big dance. Remember, and I forget this all the time. I agreed at the beginning, I would go to any lengths. Any lengths isn't do what your sponsor says. Any lengths is follow the exact instruction of the big book. See, I've had someone follow the exact instruction of their sponsor and they harmed me. They harmed me. So go to any lengths isn't fly to Toronto and sit next to me in my meeting. Go to any lengths is follow the exact instruction of the big book for victory over self. Okay, and misgivings, there's some misgivings. What is the misgiving? A feeling of doubt, apprehension about the outcome, consequences of something. Yeah, there's a lot of misgivings. I see people write, no, there's some misgivings, and I love this. We're on a spiritual basis. That means we're in a partnership with God. I love what you shared, David. Of course, your sponsor's not going to go with you. He's not God. This is a partnership with God. I love this in step 8. my pastor told me this. He did a whole series in the fall about steps 1 through 12. And he said, whoever claims to love God, yet hates his brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they've seen cannot love God, whom they have not seen. And this is the commandment. Anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. I think that's John 19 through 21. And why do I quote that? Because my book says, see where religious people are right. This is all about making amends. How can I go to God and still be mad at my brothers and sisters? This is radical, and I love this here. David talked about the first approach. I have to wait sometimes. I've had people go, do I need to run out and make an amends to, are you ready to do it? Are you sincere? Or are you just listening to what your sponsor said? Because I had to wait 4 years for God to give me the opportunity. As I had the willingness, it was the opportunity to see the man whose marriage I destroyed. And God put him on the top of a hill on a sunny day when I was walking to Auntie's. And he just looked at me and I looked at him and we laughed. And it was the most beautiful amends. 4 years after being in this program, in the Big Book. I had been in the program for years before I found the Big Book. So on to page 77, we might have prejudice with them. And I have a lot of prejudice. Remember, our book told us to sweep away our prejudice. Are you doing that every day? Or did you just do that in step 2 when you were searching for this power? Because every day I need to sweep away all prejudice. I'm having a new experience every day. I've never been here before. I'm in a spirit world. So I'm trying to put my life in order to what? To serve. You told me this, David, one day. I'm like, I'm supposed to be of maximum service to my man. And you said, no, Nikki, you're to fit yourself. And I love the soldier analogy. Why? I just said it at the beginning of this podcast. I'm getting a lot of calls today, this week, of people who are falling back deep asleep in their addictions, in their thinking. It's awful, and they're not ready. Remember, everybody, we read on page 15, there's certain trials and low spots ahead. Be fit. And I love this. My sponsor, Cameron F., he's like, Nikki, you're leading with the chin. Why? I get real cocky. Arrogance is on my defect list. And so I need to remember, Nikki, you are going to get nowhere when you're leading with the chin. Get humble, humility, right? Don't be fanatical. Calm down. What would God have you be? Kind? Because I don't want to kill opportunities. And some opportunities I have right now, I'm not willing. I just have to step back and go, what? I'm agitated. I better pause. A sincere desire to set right the wrongs. I was wrong. What do you need for me to make this better? Really simple, everybody. Don't get all crazy. If you're not willing, ask God. Stay here. Don't go, because the demonstration doesn't happen overnight. Oh, I've been here 12 years, 13 next month, and my demonstration gets better and better because I stay. And action, not words. This talk is cheap. Everyone knows, they've written songs about it. Is your deportment shouting that you are a woman that has discovered spiritual principles through your actions, not your words, Nikki? Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. All right, I've got a question for each of you, and let's go into this. David, why don't you dive a little bit deeper into the practice of fitting self to be of service to God and fellows? What does that look like in all actuality? How do you invite your sponsees to get themselves spiritually fit for that?
I really do a deep dive in steps 10 and 11 from the beginning with them. Once, I agree to take on a man for sponsorship, the first thing that I do is take him to step 10 and begin to show him how to watch for those things that's going to kill his fitness. It's going to kill his diet, all to hell. He's going to, eat sugar again, or whatever you would call it in the physical realm. In the spiritual realm, it's not doing these things. And, once I get them prepared to looking at self the way that the book calls for it to be done, I really introduce them to the nightly review and then the two-way morning prayer that we do pretty often. So doing these things regularly, as well as going through the book and learning how to work the steps to come to a much deeper knowledge of 10 and 11 once you get there, then all along you're really fitting yourself to be of maximum service to God and to your fellow, because you're beginning to heal from self. And it's just a beautiful process. I've tried many other ways through the years. I continued falling back into sexual addiction over and over and over. And it just finally got to the point where, something has got to be different here. I know this is the answer, but I don't know what. It's worked for me for all these years in AA. It has to work for me here. And so there were a lot of books and things that I was reading in other fellowships that I had to put to the side and come back to the one book that continues to save my life every single time that I take these steps. And so fitting myself to be of maximum service to God and to my fellows, for one, I'm going to have to discover what it is that's defeating me. That's not my lust. It's not my alcohol or drugs. It's self. And we've looked at that all the way through this series. And once I see that, then I need to recognize, and I'm starting to recognize now, how to hear the voice of addiction versus the voice of God. I think we've talked about this. I have a handout that I'd like to send out. Maybe you can put in your show notes or whatever. But this is something that once we learn how to do that, basically through working steps 10 and 11 and coming back and going through a deep fourth, then you will absolutely know how to help somebody else, how to be fit and be of maximum service. So it's a beautiful process. It just takes time. It takes patience. It takes work. It's not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. It's just, it's really good. So yeah, just happy to share that with anybody at any time. Thanks, Jesse.
Excellent. Thank you, David. And yeah, if you would like to get that handout, I'll make a note in the show notes, but send an email to rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get that handout to you on the hearing the voice of addiction versus the voice of God. All right, Nikki, question I have for you is, talk a little bit more about this agreement that we made, that we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol, over self, over whatever that is that we think is killing us right now. Tell me a little bit more about your experience with going to any length.
Okay, thank you. That's a wonderful question. See, I've heard in the rooms, and this is true, this happened in Toronto. A sponsor said to his sponsee, if you are serious about recovery, you will show up at the meeting in your pajamas or whatever humiliating. And this person did. Like, this is not a rumor. This is something Cameron saw. I mean, this is something that's happened. We've all seen it in the rooms. And he really emphasizes it when he teaches this step. It's like any lengths. That's my sponsor, Cameron F. And it's like any lengths is not, and I say it a lot. It's not shave your hair. It's not turn straight, turn gay. It's not come to my religion. It's not you have to go do this. It's what does the exact instructions of the Big Book say? Because remember, everybody, we are sick people helping sick people. This is all free work. Oh, I fired my sponsor. What are you talking about? Your sponsor's taking time out of their life to show you a way out of the hole. You, as a soldier, you're to go back and get the next man out of the hole. It's so simple, but everybody wants to complicate this. And you've got to go to this whole this meeting, and you've got to do this and that. That's not what the book says. And I see a lot of people die on crazy suggestions. Here's a real problem in the rooms. There's one book and there's one solution. I died, Justin, in the Al-Anon literature, not because it's not fabulous, but the fifth tradition, everybody, in Al-Anon. And remember, in Al-Anon, the Big Book is not literature approved. Yet in italics in tradition 5, it says we ourselves follow I'm misquoting it because I don't have it in front of me. I haven't even opened my Al-Anon books. I think they're collecting dust because I'm still learning my Big Book, but it says we ourselves practice the 12 steps of AA, like in italics. And the 12 steps of AA are directed out of the Big Book, Al-Anon, Essay. I think GA has their own book. I mean, this is radical. And all these other 300 fellowships need to go back to the original. This is the original. If we all went back, it's like, I love this. Ralph, I don't know if anybody knows Ralph White. He's a circuit speaker, and he says this. Once you're a pickle, if you're a cucumber, you become a pickle. You can't go back and become a cucumber. So if my car is recalled, I need to go back to the dealership to get it refixed. If I'm defected, I need to go back to God. And I find these instructions of the Big Book because nothing else on the planet worked. So any lengths is, here it is. The only effort necessary, page XXIX, follow a few simple rules, which is follow the exact instructions of the Big Book. I could go on for days about how we're all killing each other in the rooms with this misinformation. Fake news, it's called in the reality of the world.
Thank you, Nikki. All right, we're going to go into takeaways. I'm going to start off with my takeaway. As we were reading in here, we may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message. The recovery language that I now speak is a foreign language to those outside the rooms and to newcomers coming in. And sometimes I think that I get pretty overzealous about trying to say, hey, there's the solution I found, and speaking all these big recovery terms that are just a foreign language to people. And I've seen it scare. I've seen whether it's been me saying things like that or others saying things that just were too big. It was meat before milk rather than milk before meat, and it scared people away. And hopefully a future opportunity comes around. But that's my takeaway today. David, what's your takeaway today?
Well, I like what you shared there, killing a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message. And I love the question that you asked, Nikki, because on page 90, middle of the page, I don't know, fourth or fifth sentence down, it says, ask him if he wants to quit for good and if he'd be willing to go to any extreme to do so. And if you say yes to this, that's the agreement you've made with me, with yourself, and with God. And get ready, because we're going into it. And, I tell guys all the time, you slack up on this, I'm going to let you go immediately. And it's not because I'm, an ass. I used to be an ass about it, but now it's just I don't have time for bullshit. Either we're going to do this and get better, or you're going to stay sick on your own. I've been down that trail too many times, and I'm not going back. And so my takeaway today is, are you willing to go to any lengths or not? Yes or no. It's simple. And if no, it's okay. I love you, man. Good luck on your journey. But if you say yes, get ready, because God ain't going to do this for you. We might plant potatoes, but guess who's going to be doing the digging? Thanks, bud.
Thanks. Get ready. Buckle up. Let's go on this ride. All right, Nikki, what's a takeaway for you?
It's a prayer, if you don't mind. Dear God, shine your light on all my relationships through the years. Show me where I have harmed others. I want to take responsibility for all those hurts and make restitution. Where I am unwilling to do so, please make me willing. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for these insights, diving deep with us, Nikki and David. Thank you to those listening. The invitation is, if there was something that spoke to you in what was shared today, where you felt a power greater than yourself saying, hey, this is a place you need to take action. The invitation is take action. Go do it. Because as you're doing that, you are joining with us in the fellowship of the Spirit and trudging this adventurous and amazing road of happy destiny with us. And you're working it because you are worth it.